Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Value Integrators has a lot to offer for this industry, including Brian's vast network of business owners. So we will turn it over to you and then hit you with a bunch of questions at the end. How's that?
I look forward to it. And thank you, Denise and Jessica and everybody involved with CANNA World Expo for having me today. I greatly appreciate it. I'm Brian Holler, managing consultant for Value Integrators. We're a business consulting or a management consulting firm, depends on where you are in your growth, what you want to call us. We basically want to help you boost your cannabis business the right way. What is the right way? We'll get into that later. First of all, I got a lot of inspiration from Sarah's presentation. I very much enjoyed it. Her question and answer. She's somebody who we can all kind of look up to and aspire to be like her. Company's very, very excellent, and what she's doing is very strong. And we definitely look forward to kind of growing in that same capacity. So we're a management consulting firm based in Southern California. We essentially drive value through people, processes, tech, and data. So, that's just a fancy way to say that you're moving so fast that once you finally work with us, we're able to really look at it from a high level view under your hood and see a lot of what we find for all of our clients, which is they're moving so fast that a lot of times what they need to really grow could be right under their noses, or they already have, they're just maybe not using it as efficiently. And so that's sort of what we allude to when we talk about driving impact by aligning and unlocking unique business value. Of course, that doesn't just extend to processes. It's also about communication and how you're talking with people and how you're reaching out to different strategic partners and growing your decision making. Obviously, with the right systems and the programs in place, combined with an emphasis on people and data, you really can reduce failure and maximize all the capabilities for your business, regardless of how far along you are, how many employees you have or don't have, or what kind of angle you have in the industry, whether your service or products, and where up and down the supply chain you are. This all holds true. What are the issues? Well, we're here to talk about a lot of the issues. Both of the previous speakers before me very much honing in on the state of affairs and what some of the more specific issues that cannabis has and the people within it do. One of the big problems, and this isn't just for cannabis, but extends to most new businesses, is IT. New businesses and IT projects, a lot of times those don't go hand in hand. A lot of times we're bootstrapped, people are worried about spend, but ultimately they are also doing this. IT is not a place where you want to cut corners. Security is not a place where you want to cut corners. As you can see, a lot of people are making decisions about kind of IT willy-nilly, or perhaps listening to the wrong people, or trying to prioritize. And it's always hard, so we all understand that. But over 50% of IT projects fail to marginalize or the investment they make. So it's important to really be thorough in terms of where you're spending and what you really need. You're going to run into everybody, any outside vendor is going to say that you need them, but what do you really need? And that's really important because, in fact, about 17% of IT projects, according to McKinsey, literally can threaten the existence of the entire company. And this is even more true with how new cannabis is. It's really important that you do the right things at the right times. And these are common mistakes. There was a great article that Green Flower Media put out about, I guess, last August. And I go to it every now and again because it just was really comprehensive in terms of why, the common problems that we see. A little bit about, this is, so, and I'm sure Sarah, others have seen this quite a lot. When you win the license or when you get yourself kind of, ready to rock and roll, that is not the time to be complacent. You didn't win already. You just got into the game to have an opportunity to do well. And also you should, really think about keeping up. The struggle to keep up is great because everything is coming at us at a different pace. Different states have different regulations at this point. Some states it's not even legal to have cannabis yet for adult use. However, many are medicinal, excuse me. So there's a lot that you need to be aware of. And actually, as a side note, one of the things that I definitely see a lot of businesses do is to not have a legal or a financial kind of asset, in their core team. Now, I understand attorneys um, and financial experts or financial advisors or CFO types can be difficult, but I'm telling you, they're worth their weight in gold, especially those who are friendly to cannabis owners and businesses. So, really, when you first start, it's very, very important to have at least some sort of legal and some sort of financial resource for yourself. A lot of folks are open to things like retainers, or maybe if you're just starting your company, you have a friend who's a CFO type. Maybe they'd want to be involved in the core team. There's a lot of ways to work around it in terms of getting yourself buttoned up. As a result, though, of this fast growth that we see often, cannabis companies in general, especially startups, but cannabis holds true as well, is basically inadequate employee training. Everything is moving so fast. We don't have the usual infrastructure, right? If I go to a different type of company, they probably have some resources for me, or they might have some, regular professional development interwoven into their company. Cannabis companies often are just trying to build all of that for the first time, but also keep up with the pace of everything. So it's not necessarily that people are purposely making the mistake, it's that it's hard to keep up. But on that note, it is important to try to retain your employees and that they feel part of the growth of the organization. And if you don't have inadequate onboarding or training or touch points interwoven into your regular day-to-day operations, that can cost you really valuable employees. So you always want to be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, neglecting company culture. This kind of extends to that, especially with so many remote workers and the fact that we're such a hyper growth place right now. These are the kind of things that can get lost in the shuffle. And I very much urge clients, even non-clients, anybody who owns a company in the space, to really make a point to not only figure out what your company culture is, but be proud of it, and to really share that with your employees and even outside of the business. It's a great marketing and business development opportunity when you really truly know who you are and what you're about. Part of that also, with all the new people going into this space, is, and I'm glad that the previous speakers have all touched on this, neglecting cannabis culture. There's a lot of history that people need to know, and as time goes on, I think it's going to be, it's looked at more and more. You need to really understand the history of the plant, the people, everyone who came before us. The reason that I can sit here and talk to you about this, when not too long ago, a event like this was unfathomable. Having people who are professional talking about the fact that propaganda was real and that the drug war, ultimately was simply a way to hold people down to prevent access to growing. And the basically the neglect of cannabis as medicine, or not paying attention to what it could use over who could use it. And there's a lot that other people have to know. And now that we're in a place where people are making money and enjoying themselves, there's a lot of people who are still paying the price for all of this. And it's really important that every owner, every business, everyone in the industry understands this and is trying to do their part to improve it and to make really strong strides by interacting with different organizations, or having plans for people who may have been erroneously imprisoned to perhaps segue into appropriately paying jobs within your company. Those sorts of things, or giving back, or working with a countless amount of amazing nonprofits that are helping all sorts of aspects of the industry. It's very important. And then finally, and this is one of the main reasons value integrators exist, but is to really fill those leadership knowledge gaps. We are flying fast. Everyone is. So it is not out of the question that you could be 2 years in and be like, well, gosh, I don't even have a CMO, or I don't really have a marketing strategy, or I'm not dealing with IT in the way that I should, or I guess my vendor, maybe we can bring them in-house or something. Like, you need a company perhaps that can help you fill those gaps for an affordable price, and then allow you to scale up so that you can strategically and implement those people that you want in house. Or perhaps there's other different ways that you can look at it, because you have a team that you can rely on and that you can trust will help you get in the right direction, which we try to be the solution for, obviously. Some of our capabilities, I won't go into all of these, but ultimately, a lot of people like to stay in the strategy piece, which is really fun. Of course, we love to innovate, we love to talk, but it's more important to do. And that's if I could have added another thing to the businesses, things that cause businesses to struggle, it's this. It's a lot of talking and not a lot of doing. Um, Strategy and innovation is fun, but it only really comes to fruition if you've manifested what it is that you've strategically, agreed upon. So that has to do with making sure that everybody involved is buying in, that you're managing all the processes correctly, that everybody understands their part in the responsibility, that you're looking at the systems you're using and making sure that they're aligned correctly, and that budget is appropriate for what you're doing, and then analyzing the process that you're doing, and making sure that their data kind of backs up what your instincts say, or vice versa. Your gut maybe helping be informed by the data, right? And then, of course, you're just developing business. This is what we can do: is we can, as a result, we help develop business. And of course, we do branding and communication, all the good stuff, marketing and advertising, and helping you with operations and all that stuff. We can just plug into where you might be lacking, and generally speaking, we can fill those gaps very quickly, and really make you feel like a well-oiled machine early, and then actually forming into one very, very quickly. How do we do that? We use a very straightforward methodology, colloquially known more as like crawl, walk, run, which is a strategy. Even though we're moving so fast, I highly advise everybody to really take a time to do. It is awesome when you get excited about things, but it's really important to take a breath, right? So understand what is happening, understand the two entities that are working with, or understand the culture of your own and your own beliefs of your company first. And then we make sure that we understand them too. We want to make sure that we align with you. If we're not if we can't see eye to eye that way, then we probably shouldn't work together, and that's okay. There are a lot of other firms and other people doing great work out there that might be right for you. Either way, we really seek to align that way, and we want to make sure that we do, because it's how you can be really strong and provide a really trusting, solid foundation. And then we work through whatever issue, and this methodology applies to processes regardless of how small they are, or even large, heavy lifts for your business. Understand what's going on, process through it, workshop it, meet, develop the strategy, make sure that you outline the goals and objectives, that they're very clear. Then transition them, report on those goals and objectives as they're being developed. Make sure that the data and the gut back up what you're doing. As it does, finalize that plan of action, and then as you execute on it, determine, evaluate, assess what's going on. And that goes from everything from investment strategy all the way down to social media posts, right? And everything possibly in between. Decisions made, all that sort of a thing. You really can use, and this process can be fast or long. It's just a matter that you take care of every step. That way, when you team up with somebody like us, you get a whole lot of great experts in your corner for a very straightforward price. As you can see, we have a core team. Here they are. Sarah Patterson's our founder. She's a program management business admin expert. There's me. I'm a marketing consultant and marketing biz dev. I like to say I like relationships. I like to help build relationships. But if you need somebody to help you with creative, I tend to be good there, and that sort of a thing. And also just overall general marketing, sales, business development processes. I've been thankful to have a lot of experiences up and down the kind of from startups to enterprise level. I've always been a strong advocate for cannabis, so it's just a thrill that I get to have a company that helps cannabis companies grow. That's really, for me, just a culmination of a lot of hard work, and it's really I'm very honored to be able to be here to talk to you about it. Obviously, my last teammate named Alpi is amazing at branding, fundraising, corporate communications. So we really do cover a lot of spectrums. This is our core team, but we have strategic partners that can absolutely help deliver on whatever need that your business might have or be lacking. These are some discussion questions. I won't get into every single one of them, obviously. These are just things that we wanted to show that, we tend to ask people. You might want to ask yourself, are these things that you're having issues with? If so, you might want to look at talking to somebody like me or somebody else that has a company like ours. Ultimately, a lot of times it's around leadership, lacking certain core elements of growing a business. IT and data as it becomes so much more imperative to your growth, and a lack of understanding there, which is fully understandable. Are you getting enough out of the people and the strategic partners and vendors that you're using, that you're applying, and are they really feeling like a team? Is there any gaps in terms of the business development you're doing, and the leads that you're generating and the execution on them? Can you maximize everything that you're doing? These are just some questions that we generally ask when we're learning more about companies. We like to say that we help businesses become peerless and fearless. It's catchy, but it's also true. We do that in a few different ways. I won't harp on this too much. There's just different lanes that people can get into when we work with them, depending on what they need and what their budget allows for. And we make sure that we can align that way, and that we're really going to give, we're able to get the most bang for the buck, as we say. And if not, we usually can provide you with resources that will allow that to happen. But we like to, I think that we have a very reasonable and good approach for cannabis businesses, especially. If you're looking at this slide, the object is to take you from A to C and even beyond. Some people we work with start at A, some start at B, and some are already ready at C. And we're ready to take on any challenge that anybody has at whatever stage they're at. So if you're interested and you have any questions, you can reach me at brian@valueintegrators.com, or you can call us at each of these little places right here. Again, thank you so much for CANNA World Expo for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I certainly will take any questions that anybody might have now. And thanks again.
Brian, thank you
great
so very
presentation.
much.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Charles, would you like to go first? So I've got some questions. Would you care to go first as our guest moderator?
Sure, I'll be happy to go first. So Brian, you talked about employees, and I share the importance of getting the right employees in, and I have a couple of questions on that. First of all, recruiting during COVID with the federal unemployment benefits and the state unemployment benefits, and trying to recruit right now. I know I'm getting a lot of people saying, I'd be happy to come work for you if you pay me under the table. I'm making too much money to let that go away. Do you have any suggestions in dealing with that for our entrepreneurs that are hiring on here?
Yes, don't do that. Ultimately, you should not be paying people under the table. Even if you thought you could get away with it, you probably won't be able to. I assure you that there are great resources out there for you to find quality individuals at affordable rates. Don't be afraid to talk to them. If you really engage with somebody who you're really interested in, you never know what's going on with them. So I really implore people to truly, if you really like somebody, talk to them, go for it. Really, if you feel like they're going to be a value add to your business, don't try to cut corners. Just try to see if you can work with them legally. There's all sorts of ways. Maybe you can 1099. Maybe you can, hire at a different rate. Maybe you can use them as a vendor as opposed to an employee full on, or maybe they have a few things going on at the time. There's also great resources out there for you to see this. Banks, hemp staff, even LinkedIn. You can go find a lot of great people that are really ready to work in the industry that I think will be very malleable to a lot of opportunities that you could present them.
Thank you for those extra ideas. Question number 2 on employees. You talked a lot about company culture and how important it is, and how you explain it at all. In my last business, I was a big Tony Robbins fan. I was a public speaker, and I used his style. And so we had big, high energy meetings with all of the energy. We had contests galore, but it's not for everybody. I'd say about 10%. We communicated the culture, but I'd still lose, probably 5 or 10% of my employees a year who just did not want to go and be part of that. Have you seen any culture that works better than others?
Well, I think personally, I do tend to like high energy. I don't mind. I like Tony Robbins as well. But there are a lot of styles out there. There's a lot of learning styles. There's a lot of kind of ways that people feel comfortable and don't. So you're not gonna. While you can't please everyone, you certainly can try to do things to maybe make sure to address some of their concerns or needs or what have you. So, for instance, if 90% of the people do like the high energy and rah rah rah, and we're really getting after it, but you got that 10% who don't, perhaps there's a way to kind of talk to them individually, or to express that, or just to acknowledge that you understand that they don't love the rah rah, and that's okay. It's totally fine with that. But really, the guts of why we're doing that are these pieces here. And what we really care about is that you care about these things. And I know that you do because we've talked to you before about this, you know. So it's really just a matter, I think, of really key communication and not trying to force people, you know, into doing things that they don't want to do or that doesn't really, you know, vibe with their own personal styles. You know, you really do have to work hard to make sure everybody is, I'll say pleased, even though I really mean just bought in.
Thank you. One more question, and then I'll turn it back over to Jessica or Denise. You talked about filling leadership gaps, and as an entrepreneur, that rings so true for me because as an entrepreneur, we have a certain skill set, and that isn't everything that we need. And along with what you said, when people ask me, I've always said you have got to have, depending on your industry, you've got to have a good attorney that, especially in high litigation type industries, area that the government looks, you need a really good attorney and you really need a really good accountant, because if you don't understand the numbers, you know, your financial statement is a roadmap of where you're going, and if you don't understand that, you're kind of lost. But I'd like you to expand a little bit on what your company can do and what you suggest doing to fill those leadership gaps, to take over where the entrepreneur doesn't have those skills.
Very good. Thank you, Charles. And I can't reiterate it enough. And we do not, like, we can do a lot of legwork that can help you mitigate your cost or your time with a financial advisor or with a accountant, but we do not fulfill those services. So again, it is super important for, like Charles said, for every cannabis business especially, to have some sort of legal resource and some sort of financial advisory resource. Now, we can actually help fill gaps by essentially, like, you know, let's say you're fundraising. We can create a deck for you. We can plug you into networks. We can make sure that you get to where you need to go, but you definitely are going to have a CFO level type look at your pro forma that we've helped create or that we've helped speculate on, because they are the ones who are going to be have that expertise. Same with when you're doing contracts by legal. Yes, you can be helped in that facet, but you're going to need a lawyer, an actual attorney, to not only look at these things, but to bless them and to give you advice on how to strategically move forward. Now, with regards to what leadership gaps we fill, a lot of people, like, say you're a grower and your business is taking off, you don't probably have a marketing department or a business development person, or, you know, you might even lack operations support. But you have a lot of knowledge in how to run a growth facility, and all that sort of thing. You should not be expected to also know how to do a CMO level things or SVP of biz dev things, or how to put together you know, the entire kind of operations and all that stuff. All of a sudden, like HR and all those sorts of things, creative aspects. So that's where we can fill gaps. You know, instead of, perhaps, I think a lot of people make the mistake, and I've been this person, where you get to that place where you're plateauing a little bit and you're like, okay, I think we can finally go get our marketing expert or our business development person, and you offer them maybe like 60 or 70K a year to do everything, and they can't do it. You put them in a place to really struggle that way. So what I always say to owners is, why don't you hire a team of people that can basically come in, fill those gaps, give you stability, help you grow, so that you can actually not burden that marketing director with every single aspect of marketing, sales, business development, HR, and gosh knows what else that you feel like they should be able to do, right? So let us grow, and then we put them in as the growth plan warrants it. And then that's a lot easier for you, and it's a lot easier for that person you hire. So,
Thank you
you,
so
Brian.
much.
I'll yield the floor.
Oh, thank you, Charles. Thank you, Brian, so much. Your answers to the questions and the information you've provided us is wonderful. I have a couple for you in the meantime. Sure. You used to have a show, Connect in Cannabis. Are you planning on doing a new show?
Well, that's a good question. I've only been, quote, allowed to do a new show for maybe since February. So you know, and of course, building this company is my first and foremost priority, and helping service clients and being part of these are probably a huge priority. But Jessica, I would be remiss to say that it might not be too surprising to see me doing something more within a few months, I would guess, perhaps. You know, and there is, I can't tell too much about it, but there is a monthly show held by a very reputable organization in cannabis that I'll be hosting come later this month and beyond. So yes, you will see me probably more this mug as time goes on, talking with excellent people like yourself and owners, and just running my mouth. So there we go.
Wonderful, wonderful. Another question for you. What is your greatest success in the cannabis industry?
That's interesting. First of all, and I'm not blowing smoke saying this. It's right here, like being in the space where I stood up or was part of teams that stood up 2 full-on businesses during this pandemic. And the first, and those are both probably my proudest professional moments in history, let alone the answers to your question. One is Value Integrators. It's been a fantastic. We've been around a short amount of time. We're blessed to have a good handful of clients, excellent trajectory, which means that all the hard work, all the price points, all the deliberate, all the strategy, it seems to be paying off. And so, I know that we really can help a lot of companies, and we're working with so many great people besides our core team. So that right now is probably the most proud I've ever been about my professional development. But before that, during the pandemic, I used to work for another company, and we got hit fairly hard by COVID. And my response to it was connecting cannabis, which essentially led to 14 other shows that created this whole entire cannabis media network. Now, unfortunately, it kind of grew really fast, made a big splash, and then got cut because of some decisions made by the company. But it was a very fulfilling relationship, or a very fulfilling opportunity for me. I very much continue to get on the radar of a lot of great people, and a lot of those people have continued to be people I work with, help, and assist with today. So I certainly can't begrudge my time, even though it didn't end up quite the way I wanted. And it led to Value Integrators, which I got to tell you, even though it's been around for a lot of time, once we really pivoted into cannabis, and I was able to take kind of my 5-6 years of history in the space, and that I was in cannabis and management consulting at the same time, which I don't know a lot of people could say that. And I was able to really parlay a lot of that learning and relationships I was able to build into where Value Integrators is. So I got to tell you, Jessica, you're looking at me probably at the most proud I've ever been. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That is fantastic to hear. So I would like to know, and our audience would like to know, how can they connect with you?
certainly. I tend to not be too hard to find. If you just go out there and click Brian Holler, you'll probably find me. But Brian at valueintegrators.com if you'd like to email. You can find me on all the social things. If you want to hook up, if you want to connect on LinkedIn, that's a great place to find me. LeafWire, if you're talking about cannabis-friendly social networks, I can be found there. Instagram, which is also probably the other best place to promote your cannabis business at this point, although I don't know, Facebook is definitely not. So that's another story altogether, which I will remove myself from. But find me anywhere in the good places and say hi. I'm more than happy to talk to you and learn more about you. I'm very excited to do so.
Thank you. And any final words, thoughts, advice, messages to our listening and viewing audience?
I'll just say 2 things. Well, first, thank you guys all for having me. I really appreciated the opportunity to talk to everyone. And lastly, while there's a lot of opportunity out there, and there really, really is, breathe. You do not have to run so fast. You can be a little more calculated. Really think about your space, where you are in the space. Really make sure that you're making the right decisions for you, your family, that you're making sure that you're doing it in a way that makes sense. Like, we have a very strong opportunity here, yes, but we can do things the right way, and we can make sure that we're at peace at the same time. So really, really take care of yourselves. Make sure that you're okay, because if you're not okay, none of the rest of this matters. So be well.
Thank you so much, Brian. We really, really, really appreciate the time, your effort, and everything that you have done for CANNA World Expo and the industry, and what you're continuing to do.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.